So what was that about condoms?
So I have a work event tomorrow, and my boss was like, you need to get HIV tests from the office, but you also need to get a giant bag of condoms. So I went into work today, and I was like, to my coworker, I was like, I need a giant bag of condoms, and I need it now. And so we just started like
definitely didn't
got
make
like
any
a
jokes
giant bag, like one of those like giant black bags, and just started shoving condoms in there.
Yeah. How many condoms do you plan to give away?
Well, it's okay. So the event that we're going to is for National Sex Trafficking Awareness Month. And so there could be a lot of people that have been trafficked / are currently being trafficked that need access to condoms for their sexual safety. So yeah, I'm also at the point where I'm like ready to like just decorate. You know how some people like decorate like Pinteresty and they're just like, oh, I'm going to put like this like cute little chain or something. Yeah. Well, I decided that I'm just going to start decorating with putting different bowls of condoms around my house. So like some I'll have like magnums and I'll have like glow in the dark ones, and maybe some I'll have like lube in them and like, mix it up. Yeah, I did actually find out that we have a large amount of glow in the dark condoms at my work today.
Okay, bear with me.
Yeah.
It's Uber, but you rent out your house for sex parties. And bear
like
with
an
me.
Orgy.
And bear with me.
Yeah.
We call it Luber.
I love it. No, that's seriously, I love it. I don't know how many people would be like okay with that, because you'd have to like, depending on the sex party, you'd have to like get like a whole hazmat team in there.
Don't overthink it.
Depending on how much you like appreciate, having walls.
I'm cutting all that out.
No.
Welcome back to Why Will No One Date These Guys? I'm Joel Guy.
I'm Naomi Guy.
And we are returning to hopefully the final part of this Dr. Phil book.
Please
Who's to
be
say
the
there
last
could be
part.
another Dr. Phil book in our future. Naomi, before we get started today, and I force you to recollect the great advice Dr. Phil has already given us, what sort of thing are we sampling?
Today we are sampling the Jones Special Release Turkey and Gravy Soda, 12 full ounces, 355 milliliters. It's back. For a limited time, you can experience your infamous turkey and gravy soda. Grab a bottle while you can and bring it to your holiday gathering, where even your vegan buddies can partake, or chug the whole bottle if you dare. Just make sure to get it on video, share it with us, and we'll give you a Jones t-shirt. Cheers! Full details on our website.
Oh, we should have videotaped all of this. So for our listeners, this is another of the sodas that I have picked up on my travels in Lawrence, Kansas. It is a novelty flavored soda meant to replace all physical foodstuffs. Jones Company clearly wants the future to be liquid beverages. I think they'd really enjoy Soylent. Boy, Naomi did not react positively to the smelling that.
I don't want to drink it.
Let me give it a whiff. It smells like carbonated gravy. I'm going in. That's pretty bad. Okay, it's like unsweetened gravy. It has like that fattiness, and then it also has like a hint of mashed potatoes. I'm not getting a lot of the turkey flavor.
You know when you see the videos of the cat, like a cat smelling something and then gagging? That's what I just did.
It's if I had to describe the flavor profile, it definitely has hints of what they're going for, but it's almost like an unsweetened piece of candy corn. Do you know where I'm coming from? It has
I know exactly. That's
again, that
actually
fattiness,
really great
but without
way of
the sweetness and the flavor.
But carbonated.
Yeah.
Okay, I need another drink.
I genuinely am not going to be touching that for the rest of the episode. Naomi is wandering off to go get another drink to wash the horrible scent. Is this worse than the plum soda? I think I continued sipping the plum soda.
I think this is like this one's first, and then the plum soda is a second.
Well done, Jones. Yeah. Well done. Naomi, we are back with Dr. Phil Part 3.
Dr. Phil.
Do we want to tread water and not discuss Dr. Phil and instead discuss what we're doing to stay sane this year and introduce our year tag? Because I don't think we've done that yet.
I really wanted Lauren to... Okay, if we're going to introduce it without Lauren, we have to give her full credit.
Okay. So last year, Naomi, we had a catchphrase, or I guess a year referral phrase, which was meant to inspire people and get people, doing good things and making their year better. What was that year called?
2022. Much fun.
Exactly. And the idea was 2022, you got to treat yourself. You got to do things you find enjoyable. So then we started scratching our heads and we're like, well, what can we call 2023? We need a new mantra. We need a new thing for people to ruminate on. Obviously, people have been doing fun stuff all throughout 2022. What thing are they going to do for self-improvement this year? Naomi, what did we come up with?
Lauren Pauls actually came up with this.
I don't know this person.
2020 rigatoni.
Rigatoni, beautiful. 2020 rigatoni is our new mantra for the year. It is all about living your best life, but also improving your skills. And I think this came about because Lynn got a fancy pasta maker for Christmas.
Did. And
so
he started making me pasta last week.
Not only is he going to have too much fun, we're going to have delicious rigatoni. So 2020 rigatoni is not just about food. Like, I think food's a really good way to like experiment and like improve your skills and impress people and do all those things that are necessary for dating. But it also is about just general skills. If there's things you feel like you're lacking, things that you want to improve upon that would improve your quality of life, 2020 rigatoni is the year you get to focus on that. So with that in mind, Naomi, have you done anything so far this year in 2020 rigatoni?
I got a job.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mentioned my job before. I'm not going to say specifically where I work, but I work at a sexual health clinic in the Phoenix area, and I work with clients who want to help prevent HIV. So I do a lot of work on a grant that helps give access to PrEP medication, so pre-exposure prophylaxis. And it's a prescription that helps reduce the risk of HIV when come in contact with it. So with that, that's taken up a lot of my time. But I've been trying. I needed to learn more of like a work-life balance when I was working in college, because I would do a full day of class and then I'd like go work at night. And I was like, why am I so tired? Like, I'm not doing very much. And then I realized like, oh, I'm doing like 2 full days worth of stuff. Like I'd do a full day, like 8 hours of work of classwork, and then I'd go and do like another 8 hours of like working for pay. So I think the biggest thing that I've learned is like to do things in the middle of the week with your friends. And even if it's just for like an hour or two, like this week I made dinner for my couple friend, and her boyfriend came over, and Len was obviously here because he lived here. And we all just sat around and drank and ate tacos, and it was a fun time. So nice. I think that the biggest thing that I've learned in the first month of January is that I need to like not only think like weekend is the best part of my week. I need to like make sure that the weekdays are just as good.
Fair enough.
And obviously that is hard. Like when you have a 40-hour week job, because you want to come home and just nap. But like I've been trying really hard. Okay?
My trick is napping at work.
Oh, smart.
Yeah,
salary employed.
Yeah, that's life balance for you. I've been doing a couple of things. I've certainly been making new food. I got a couple of cookbooks for Christmas, one of which is called the Ottolenghi cookbook. And Ottolenghi is a restaurant chain in the United Kingdom that does vegetarian dishes. They serve meat, I think, too, but their primary focus is on like making vegetables taste good. And so there's a wide variety of incredibly tasty recipes that I've been trying. I get a CSA every other week, so I get like a bunch of random vegetables and produce, and being able to experiment with those and turning them into something tasty is really fun. Lauren and I have also been doing some projects around the house. We've been doing some painting in our kitchen. We've been doing some preparation for potentially getting chickens in the next month or two.
Ooh.
That's certainly back on our radars. And then we ordered some stuff off Etsy to just like try new things, one of which was an embroidery set. Mm-hmm. So it like gives you a design that you follow, kind of like a paint by the numbers. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, I definitely been eyeing paint by the numbers kits. But just doing stuff that like is developing a new skill, trying out something new without like investing hundreds of dollars into a completely new hobby. I find that like pretty fun, pretty relaxing.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Something that we actually tried out for the first time last week was we had a friend over and Len made pasta for the first time. And it was just simple pasta. Like, it wasn't anything special. We did like Alfredo and stuff with it, but it was really good. Like, homemade pasta is so good.
Whenever I travel to Europe, I am reminded of the idea that Americans get like inferior quality products for everything.
Yeah.
Because you try some of their just like normal grocery store brands and you're like, what are we doing wrong? Are we so obsessed with like our pursuit of low prices at grocery stores that we're ignoring, the wonderful flavors of products that might cost, 10 cents a box more or whatever?
Yep.
It's frustrating.
It is.
Speaking of frustrating, Naomi, let's talk about Dr. Phil for the hopefully last time.
God,
By
I
lad,
hope
I mean
so.
last time for the book.
The book,
Do you recall what we've discussed at all? It's been a couple of weeks since we recorded those first two parts.
The main theme that we came to realize was that Dr. Phil is trying really hard to be a feminist without actually being a feminist.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I said was something along the lines of Dr. Phil respects women, but also thinks they're dumb.
I don't think that's respecting women, Joel.
Well, he's like, women have special skills they've developed from running households and being expected to do everything. But he also like doesn't make the connection that maybe women shouldn't be doing everything. And he's also like, women, you're so silly, complaining about how fat you are. Well, some men enjoy fat ladies. In fact, I've heard men say that woman needs more time at the buffet. She looks like she's a moose antler. Yeah, really,
it
really
looks
good.
like a moose antler.
You don't remember that line?
No, I remember that, but that was definitely not the line.
With that in mind, we're going to jump back into hopefully the last part. I will try to make this quick. And before we get into the different types of men that women need to understand, I think it's important to talk about how sometimes men and women say different things.
Oh, no.
Now, Naomi, this was also a theme in another very popular relationship self-help book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Yeah.
And in there, they're like, well, men and women sometimes mean completely different things, even if they say the same words. And I was like, okay, this isn't the worst of advice. Maybe you're taking it to an extreme. Dr. Phil takes it to a new extreme. Here's a lighthearted and funny look about what men say to women. Sometimes they're dead on. As a psychologist, not currently licensed, and someone who has studied male-female relationships for 30 years, I never cease to be amazed at how sometimes women fail to get obvious messages from some guy who's trying to tell her something. The problem is not that women are negative, picking up their mate's language all the time, but that an awful lot of women seem to be really naive. Many women just don't pick up on the bright red flares a man sends to indicate that he's losing interest, or to imply what he really wants, or to betray impure motives. I continually marvel at how women in love could filter out messages that no one on earth could miss. To get some clarity and maybe a few good laughs, look at the following examples translating to man speak. So he said, another glass of wine. What did he mean, Naomi?
Let me get in your pants.
Drink up. We'll both look better.
I don't like this book.
Hi, significant other, I'd like to ply you with alcohol, because currently you're ugly. Also, you probably find me ugly.
Also,
well done, Dr. Phil.
We both smell bad.
He said, I need space. What does he really mean?
Let's break up so I can see other people.
Close. We are so over that I'm thinking of going into witness protection to get away from you.
Oh, wow.
You psycho. You're beautiful. What does he mean, Naomi?
You're fucking ugly. Sorry, what?
What does he mean, Naomi?
You're ugly.
He means, thanks for not wearing a bra.
True, though.
These are all things Dr. Phil has said to people. He says, is that a new dress? What does he actually mean, Naomi?
How much of my money did you spend?
Oh, very
Oh!
good. He says, great, how much did that cost me? If he says, I love you, Naomi, what does he mean?
I'm so far out the door that you can see skid marks.
No. He says, he really means, I want to have sex with you.
Oh.
He says, I love you too. What does he really mean? Now I really want to have sex with you. He says, and this one's a head scratcher, Naomi.
Okay.
I'm going out with the guys. What does he mean?
I'm gonna go cheat on you.
If Dave had breasts, I'd never see you again.
Ew.
Dr. Phil, maybe reevaluate some of your relationships. It seems interesting that you construe all male relationships as inherently non-sexual only because men aren't gay.
It's a theme that I've seen in both this book and also in Steve Harvey's book, where it's like, I'm going to give advice, but it's actually advice that like I think about. So it's like things that I have said and thought before.
I listened to, there's another podcast that I've been listening to recently called If Books Could Kill. And they had an episode recently about men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yeah.
Which, coincidentally, they did several months after us. So I'm wondering if maybe they're ripping off the content
They
we're
definitely are.
producing.
Yeah,
Their
for
podcast
sure.
explores like really popular self-help books and all the horrible advice that these super popular like 80s, 90s, early 2000s book gave. So one of the things they point out is all the advice that John Gray gives in the Men Are From Mars books seems like weirdly specific to his relationship. Like, we didn't really touch upon this, but he doesn't give a lot of examples of other couples that he's helped. Mostly it's just him and his wife.
Yeah.
And the examples he gives are like, there was this time when my wife had just given birth and I was back at the office 5 days later, not helping my wife, and she didn't have painkillers all day. And she was calling, crying, trying to get me to pick up painkillers. And when I got home, she was like, "You're a total buzzkill." And I was like, And it's like, John Gray, this book is you working through your problems.
This is like the "Am I the Asshole" like post on Reddit all over again, but like in book form.
So here's some Steve Harvey-esque advice. If he says, "Let's split the bill, Naomi," what does he really mean?
I don't want to go on a second date with you.
It means I'm a cheap bastard.
Oh, shit.
That's the only reason people would split household expenses.
Not because, like everything is expensive.
Yeah.
And people want like equality in their relationships.
If he says, "Sure, we can be just friends," what does he actually mean?
Sure, we can be just friends. I'm still going to try to pursue you and sleep with you.
As long as we can do it naked.
Damn it.
You're getting closer. This is pretty good. If he says, "Have you lost weight?" what does he really mean?
I'm trying to get in your pants.
I just booked a golf game for Saturday. And finally, Naomi, if he says, "Can I help with dinner?" what does he really mean?
You're not doing it. You're not cooking what I want to cook, so I'm going to do it.
Not exactly. He really means, will it ever be ready? First, Dr. Phil is clearly like projecting on relationships, but also he's doing like hacky 80s comedian bits.
Yeah.
He's like, "I hate my wife and my kids are all trans. Mamma mia."
What?
You've never seen that meme?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so we've discussed in prior episodes how like Dr. Phil's advice seemed kind of similar to Steve Harvey's at times, and definitely their sense of humor seems very similar. They were raised in roughly the same eras. They make
I want
the same
them to
jokes.
be like besties in real life.
That is funny because we made the joke about them never being in the same room together. And before I started reading this, I stumbled across a video. It was like the showdown of the TV Titans. And there was a series of crossover episodes between their two shows where Steve Harvey and Dr. Phil like competed in different games. Like they raced golf carts and played mini golf. And I think Steve Harvey was on Dr. Phil's show to discuss like his wife. And he's like, "This bitch." And Dr. Phil's like, "What?" And he says, "My new dog, I mean." And Dr. Phil's like, "Ho, ho, 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 ho."
I hate men.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. So, Naomi, speaking of hating men, maybe your problem is you don't understand them. How many times have you looked at the man you're dated, shaking your head and wondered, can he really be that stupid, insensitive, tuned out, selfish, or clueless? The answer is no, he's probably not that bad. But he is, shall we say, male, as in action-oriented, protective, goal-directed, and strength-preserving. Before you can judge the men in your life, you'll have to figure out what drives them and why. So he's like, well, sometimes men act in specific ways consistently, and you have to figure out what sort of type of man they are. He doesn't fit every man into a box. He actually fits all men into 10 boxes, which means that he's not stereotyping. But simultaneously, you're like, okay, if your advice is simple, it seems stupid. If it's really complicated, it doesn't seem like it actually applies to people at all. And he's really writing that line throughout this entire book. Here are the 10 types of men, Naomi.
Okay.
One-trick ponies, Clark Kents, caveman competitors, needy Neds, sex gods, Gordon geckos, efficiency experts, human minefields, lifelong pupils, and sore losers.
There's so many.
Yeah, you're going to have to commit all of this to memory or buy a copy of this book because I'm certainly not loaning it to you. Actually, it would be pretty fun if at the end of every book we hated, we just figured out a way to destroy it and like film that for our Instagram.
No. We figure out a way to destroy it in a manner that is like
befitting to.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, this is misogynistic, so we should like get a group of women together to destroy it.
Yeah. Like an old Greek legend of a man.
Oh my
being
god,
caught
it brought up
by women.
men golfing. We should just like putt it off of a cliff.
Okay, so let's talk about the first type, Naomi.
Okay.
One-trick ponies. Most men are linear thinkers. They take a single file, one thing at a time approach to life. Think of this quality as nature's way of helping men focus singularly on the matter at hand, be it the hunt, the job, the sexual conquest, or Monday night football, without interference. Yeah, that's what evolution has led to, men focusing on Monday night football without interference. Clearly, this characteristic is not without its pros and cons. As I said, I'm not here to defend it, I'm only here to report it. If you are the one thing that a man is currently passionately focused on, obviously that's great. But if you temporarily drop at any point in time to number 4, 5, or 6, you're going to feel really frustrated because you like to feel rejected, undervalued, and hurt. Sorry, because you're likely to feel.
Oh, I was like, I like to feel that way.
This is not an all or nothing phenomenon. He can multitask on a bunch of mindless or dispassionate duties, but when a man's attention has been captivated by something, everything else is going to fade in a hurry. If you catch him when he's already passionately invested in some activity, project, or subject matter, and you're trying to talk to him after he's been sucked in, you're wasting your time and talking to yourself. So you have to pick your time, pick your battles, everything is fine. So keep in mind that sometimes men will get really intensely focused on things. If it means, what that means to you is that if you ever dated a man who seems to forget that telephones exist, then you know what I'm talking about. If you ever dated a man you meet while on vacation, forget about it. On vacation, he has nothing to focus on but you and the idea of romance. The second they return to their regularly scheduled programs, guys will start backpedaling. You'll be left to wonder what happened. So the most important thing you can do with this information, Naomi, is just understand that sometimes guys are super focused on things and you shouldn't hold it against them. You should find a new time to focus on trying to seduce them or get in their pants or date them or whatever.
No, but okay.
What are you talking about? Steve Harvey said the same thing. He's like, if men aren't the top of the corner stoop, they're going to never focus on ladies. You have to help men become their best.
If these men are not best friends, I'm going to be sorely disappointed.
Yeah, he gives one example where he's like, a lady thought that her husband didn't love her anymore, so she dressed up in a sexy French maid outfit and started like dusting the room during Sunday night football. Yeah. And he didn't even notice that like she was in a sexy French outfit. She's like, "Oh, don't you love me anymore?" Dr. Phil's like, "Well, you have to understand. The man's compartmentalizing. He's a one-trick pony. You got to seduce him during Monday night football. Completely different animal." I don't know. Some men are one-trick ponies, Naomi.
I just don't understand.
Okay, part 2. Number 2, Naomi. Clark Kent. Inside a lot of guys, there lives a would-be Superman who can save the day, the planet, and you all at a moment's notice. Men are natural problem solvers, or at least that's what they think they are.
What actually are they?
Bad at things. So when it comes to relationships, you need to understand that men have to feel like heroes. They need to feel as though they are vitally involved, have something to offer, and a position of power in the relationship. That doesn't mean they have to be the boss, you have to bat your eyes and pretend to be helpless, but you do have to let a man know he has something vital to offer.
Okay, so this is literally almost exactly the advice that Steve Harvey gave.
Well, no, Steve Harvey was like, the man has to think he's on top. Dr. Phil's like, he doesn't necessarily have to be on top.
Yeah, but Steve Harvey's like, even if you are on top, you have to make him feel like you're on top, that he's on top. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Steve Harvey's like, you have to coddle the guy. Dr. Phil's like, you have to coddle the guy, but not as badly. They're different people, Naomi. Why are you drawing these comparisons? Yeah. So everyone likes to feel wanted, and men might just be worth going to trouble to point out that even though many parts of your life are working real well, it doesn't mean you don't have unmet needs, just like everyone else. So as a woman, you need to be able to show men that having your act together doesn't mean you don't need them. You have to give them some opportunity to step in.
No, absolutely not.
So when I met my significant other, she was in her final year of law school. Yeah. And had all of her student loans covered. Yeah. And had an apartment and was raising cats and had a rich inner world. And I was like, bye, because I didn't have anything to offer her.
As you should.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not potentially good advice to be find something your partner needs and attempt to appeal to it. But
it's also really shitty advice.
It also seems like really shitty advice for women to have to refocus their entire lives and offer these opportunities for men. It's I don't know, I'm picturing a damsel in distress on the railroad tracks tied down by a Wild West villain who's stroking his mustache.
And the woman has to do it once a week to make her man feel wanted. To be tied down on a...
So the third is caveman competitors. The thing you have to understand about men is that because they're pretty competitive as a general rule, they tend to be somewhat externally defined. For men, life is sometimes primarily about competing and winning, not getting hugs, being supported and listened to. although at some level men like those things as well. Men are big on staking out their territory, proving their manhood, and being strong in the face of challenge. It's a good thing if your man is in fact competent and you enjoy being taken care of and protected. It's a bad thing if he's an insecure doofus who grew up comparing genital size on the playground.
Been there.
Interesting experience. And now maintains his ego by always having to drive the big expensive car, wearing the watch he can't afford, or tearing muscles trying to be the man on the softball team. If he has children, this is the man who will try to live through them vicariously as they get into sports or the school play. They're negative sides of his cavemanness, but it can be productive as well. So what it means to you, Naomi, is that there's nothing like a little healthy competition to get him to stop looking at you like chopped liver and start seeing you for the filet mignon that you and all your friends know you are.
I feel like this is like giving the advice to women, like, oh, if your man is acting this way, every day when he comes home, like, don't be wearing anything. Just be wearing an apron or like wear some lingerie or something to like get his attention again.
Well, no. That's not what he's suggesting, because that's not competition. Then you're just going to be like, oh, you're baloney. You're not filet mignon. See how you actually keep this guy attracted. If there's someone he respects, like a friend or a social rival, start showing interest in you. And start showing interest in them. And he sees you two hitting it off and having a great time, his investment in you is going to go up. So make your man jealous.
Anyone in their right mind would be like, if you're hitting on my friend, I'm going to dump you.
What are you talking about? All men are cavemen. They drag their knuckles and beat people with clubs and
go,
drag them to their cave.
Like Tarzan.
That's going to show up well on audio.
Yeah.
Also, Naomi, realize that men like to have what I call sweat equity. If they haven't worked hard to get their position in the relationship, they won't value it. As soon as they think, I've got this locked, this relationship is over and done, it's lost its sizzle, and you'll be out the door. That's why you need to do the 90-day rule, Naomi. Make him earn stuff.
God.
Yeah, I don't know how helpful this advice is. Phil, I feel you're kind of creating problems that don't exist, and if they do exist, they apply to like 1%, 5% of men. So I don't know if this is actually going to benefit women or just make men be like, oh, she's playing hard to get. I don't like playing games. Bye. Number 4 is needy Neds. So he says that men live in a world they often define as highly competitive, dog-eat-dog, scorekeeping environment. They need validation from their friends, their colleagues, and their family, but the validation from the woman they love is the kind they value most. The problem is that men often lack insight into their needs and therefore have a difficulty time articulating them or even so much as admitting that they exist. So what it means to you is, you and I both know that needs are nothing to be ashamed of, but don't try to tell that to most guys. Men don't talk about needs because, as I said, deep down most men don't believe that they are weaknesses. So it's hard for women to know what a man's needs are. Because men can't or won't talk about them, much of your job to go on a quest to discover what your man's most prominent needs are. Once you identify them, your goal is to figure out a way to meet them. So how you can use it is, if you know what a man needs and you give it to him because you've decided it's healthy for both of you to do so, his experience of you will be high quality. He'll be drawn to you, he'll seek you out, and he will soak up the validation you have to offer. The more he falls in love with you, the greater power you have to validate him, and the more he will value you for his balance in the world. So he's like, some men need to feel like they can offer something to women. And some men need to feel like women have something to offer them.
It's every single, like, way that he's describing this is that, like, men need women in order to, like, feel full. And that women can go either way, but men are these, like, babies that need women to survive. A little bit.
I was thinking that sounds like the same characteristic, just described in different ways for both sexes. He's like, some men need to provide, some women need to provide, and this will help relationships in both cases. So is that helpful advice, or is that just describing the problem two ways but in a gendered way each time?
Both.
I think Dr. Phil is a genius. He's writing this book to everyone and no one simultaneously.
It's the everybody's nobody.
I was thinking it like a friend to everyone's a friend to no one. A book that's applicable to everyone is a book that's applicable to no one.
That's very fair.
Yeah. Number 5 is sex gods. It is a rare man who can admit that given the opportunity, he would not be having sex 24/7. That's it.
Your dick would get so sore, though.
I wrote Steve Harvey in the margins here, and my handwriting smeared, so it kind of looks like Steve Horny.
Was it this? Was it the Vegas example?
No, I was thinking of him like, men love sex, ladies. You gotta give them sex. You gotta give them sex 9 times a week, ladies, after the 90-day rule, of course.
Okay,
you gotta dress up in your lingerie. Men don't find t-shirts attractive. Naomi's just slowly going insane during
Yeah,
this,
I
and I'm
am.
here for it. So he's a sexual animal. You got to hear him roar. And then he says, well, if you actually believe that, Naomi, I've got some great beachfront property to show you in Arizona. There is actually beaches in Arizona. There are beaches at Lakesville. So you can, in fact, purchase beachfront property. Never mind. So what it means to you is that men need to feel virile and attractive. Some men are actually even quite romantic. But either way, men need to feel strong and accepted. That's why, at least in part, many women report they will fake an orgasm rather than deal with the insecurity and hurt feelings that come when he doesn't get affirming feedback. The old pat on the shoulder would just break his heart after all the hard work you put in. How you can use that, Naomi, is once you've done your homework and identify your man's needs, made the value judgment those needs are healthy, it's time to make a very focused to-do list. If you have sex with your man and you enjoy it, tell him how amazing it is. That's absolute music to his ears. He'll be so excited by the sound of your sincere praise that he is going to keep coming back for more. Of course, that isn't to say you should lie and fake orgasms if you're having a horrible time. If that's the case, it may be time to put your teacher's hat on and start giving lessons. I don't know how that, squares away with men's desire to feel like they're experts in things. Like, if men want to be, the top of the heap and know everything, how are they going to take it when women are like, you suck at sex, let me explain what I actually want? He's giving all this advice, and I don't know if this all applies to all men, or it's meant to be different types of men, in which case I don't know how easily you can identify what sort of man. This is all very confusing. But it does lengthen the book by about 50 pages, so he's doing good work in that regard. The sixth type is Gordon Gekko's, Naomi. It's men who are super greedy, who never waste their time doing something for nothing. They tend to be scorekeepers. He says, don't judge a man's greed, use it to your advantage. Reward behaviors so you can get them to be more likely. So if your man does the dishes once, that's when you give him the good sex, Naomi. That's when you put on the lingerie.
Okay. Can we just talk about the fact that when men do the dishes once, they're like, oh my God, praise me. You know what I mean? But then women will do, I've had so many friends come up to me and they're like, I have done the dishes every single day. And he does it once and he's like, praise me, tell me thank you, all these things. And he's never said thank you to me back.
Literally no one listened to the episode Lauren and I did on dating apps for couples. Maybe dating apps. Maybe that was the wrong phrasing. Apps that help people who are dating long term.
Yes.
And one of them was Sweepy, which is this great little app which allows you to track different household chores. Partially so you can be like, oh, I don't like cleaning the tops of fans. I should, make a little reminder every 3 months to do it.
Yeah.
But the other part is you can very easily track who in the house is doing chores. And you can assign values to them and be like, if everyone hates doing dishes, let's make dishes a 3. If everyone finds taking the trash out easy, make it a 1. And you can come up with elaborate scores so people can keep track. And then if you want to reward people for doing more chores, you can do it that way.
My issue with that is that I'm just so competitive that if I were to get that app, I'd overdo it and then still make it an issue.
And then you should have your partner reward you for contributing around the house. Lauren and I have an agreement where whoever does the more chore points total in a month gets a gift card to either video games or HBO or something, so we can have some entertainment as a reward for the fact that we contributed around the house and made it clean and beautiful.
What can you buy with $10 these days?
$25.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you said $10.
Yeah. I don't know, video games, an HBO Max subscription for a couple of months, 2 months, something like that. Efficiency experts. So some men are very focused on trying to get everything done as quickly as possible. That's why he says men really enjoy muscle cars and cars that go fast, because they're like, look how efficiently I can move around. Yeah, that's why men buy really fast cars. Okay, so what it means to you is that men simply do not put the same things at the top of their priorities lists as women do. Men invariably underestimate the importance of certain things to women. If you combine their miscalculation with the fact that they're focused on what they believe is actually important, what you wind up with is a man in the doghouse. So what he suggests is focus on the efficiency. I'm sorry, disregard that. Okay. So what he suggests is don't get mad. You have to express yourself. You have to figure out what's important to you and then actively set up your world to ensure your priorities get met. So you have to tell him exactly what you care about. So, like, it may not feel as good to tell a guy you love getting flowers, that you want to do something ridiculously romantic on Valentine's Day. But if you want something bad enough, you'll need to tell your guy as much, because the last thing he'll be able to do is read your facial expression when he's watching SportsCenter. He says you should not have to tell him over and over again, but that is just how it is.
That you do have to tell him
Yeah,
over and
he's
over
like,
again?
you shouldn't have to, but you will. Like, that's just what men are. Tell him what you like. Now, this advice is bad because what he's really trying to say is communicate with your partner their likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
And if you find that after repeatedly communicating your likes and dislikes to a partner, they continue to go out of your way to not do things you like and continue to do things you dislike, there may be a problem in the relationship.
Yeah.
What he's actually saying is men are actually really smart and they focus on getting stuff done. So you have to like engineer them in a specific way because men are robots.
No, but the thing is that I think that a lot of women don't know, and this is my dating advice book from now on. I have been told on multiple occasions from people that I consider are in successful relationships that you need to tell your partner exactly what you want, because I feel like a lot of people have this habit of being in a relationship and thinking that the partner can read their mind. Like, oh, I want flowers. My partner should get me flowers. And then get mad at their partner for not buying them flowers, or taking them on a trip or planning dates or something like that. You need to communicate with your partner, like overly communicate at times about what you want. And you can't just, you can ask for things in a relationship. That's completely normal. But don't get mad at your partner for not knowing things that you have not told them that you like.
Fair enough. Number 8 is human minefields. All people have a history. There are certain things based upon that history that they're going to bring in your relationship. So he might have pain about certain things in a relationship. He refers to it as baggage, and it may or may not have to do with previous romantic entanglements. It may have to do with like issues on the corporate ladder or bad sexual experiences in the past, or maybe he feels dumb because he blew the SATs in high school.
Same.
So what it means to you, Naomi, is to know what a guy is sensitive about is have a great amount of power and responsibility. It is this kind of sensitivity, is this ability to read people and know where the rubber meets the road in another person's life that makes someone a great people person. You have to understand that your knowledge of a guy's hot buttons can backfire you if you ever try to use this information against him. So he's like, sometimes people feel bad about things, and what you should do with that information is not make them feel bad about that thing. That'll help you maintain a man. Naomi's just stunned.
I have no words for this. Like, this is
this
like,
advice supposed to be helpful? This is like learning how to deal with people in 3rd grade.
Yes!
Like, maybe someone pooped their pants at recess sometime. If you continue to bring it up to people, they will not like you.
If you continue to bring it up,
you learn in kindergarten.
if you continue to bring it up, senior year of high school, they're gonna have an issue with you.
Ladies, you might have difficulty attracting a man if in 4th grade you repeatedly refer back to that time in 1st grade he pooped his pants. Great advice, Phil.
Oh my God.
Lifelong pupils, Naomi, number 9. Men can change like anyone else, but change isn't easy and it takes effort. As I've implied numerous times, if a regular guy woke up to find a couch tied to his back and a remote control glued to his hand, he'd think he died and went to heaven. Unless, of course, that television was less than 32 inches and stuck on the Food Channel, in which case it might feel more like hell. This is Steve Harvey. He's like, ESPN and ESPN2 are all of the channels.
Ah!
That'll play well audio-wise. Boy, you're really taking the medium.
I'm gonna edit this one
in new ways.
I'm gonna edit this one.
We need to do like one of those ASMR setups where we have like my voice in one ear
It's
and your voice in the
ASMR. Why do all people over the age of like 25 call it ASMR?
ASMR saves you like 50 syllables. It's easier to pronounce.
I give up on you.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So he's like, men are inherently lazy and they would prefer to sit on the couch watching TV. Personally, I kind of enjoy the Food Network. I enjoy watching all these ridiculous shows with Guy Fieri doing sick, twisted things to food. Yeah.
Do you know he's having a free... I'm going to tell you this afterwards.
Okay. So he says, I've often said that men need the dots put together really close and then connected to the bright red line. A lot of women can use this because if you want to hold out for one of those sensitive types, there's more power to you, but you might be able to train the one you have into being what you want and need on an emotional front in less time than it takes to find someone who's already there. So he's like, well, men are stupid, and if you give him positive feedback, it'll make him less stupid, which seems like the other thing he said about men needing to be told what's an important focus, but just repeated in a different way because he wanted to make this list 10 rather than 9. because 10 feels like more things. The last person is a sore loser, number 10. No one likes to lose, but men really, really can't stand it because of their competitive nature. Again, this is like the other 2 or 3 where we mentioned competition.
Yeah.
Men don't like to lose. When men lose a battle, they take it personally because it's not just a matter of losing, but a test of wills, a test of manhood and worth. Men may feel like they lost a fight and have been shown to be weaker. They get a bad score in golf, even though golf may have no relevance to their life. The loss will stay with them for the rest of their week.
Even though golf has nothing to do with their own life, they're gonna have an issue with it.
Because old man Jenkins thinks golf is important and they lost face at work because of it. When men take a hit to their pride and ego, like when they poop their pants in the kindergarten first grade, they will sulk and pout for days, maybe longer. At all costs, avoid making your guy feel like a loser. A smart woman knows how to help a man maintain his need for power and control without losing herself. Keep in mind, this is completely different than, the women who learn how to teach men how to do stuff and women who learn a man's weak points and don't use them against him. This has absolutely no relation to those others, Naomi.
I have no
So
words.
now do you feel more confident dealing with men now that you know the 10 different types of men and what not to do with the knowledge?
Do you mean like basic human decency? Like, yeah, I feel like I knew that before, though.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Awesome.
He does say that there's also some dark sides to men. Like, it's not just all roses and buttercups, Naomi.
Oh, wait,
It's
really?
not just all ESPN and ESPN2. He says there's 5 types of men you should avoid like nobody's business.
Okay.
The 5 types are the hitter and quitter, the kiss and teller, the smother brother, the pretender, and the mama's boy. This seems very similar to Steve Harvey's 4 archetypes.
Oh my God, you're so right.
So the hitter and quitter, these guys are the ones who just don't like women, yet they use women as often as possible. They still want sex, but their need for intimacy and female companionship ends at the foot of the bed. They will say virtually anything to get a girl naked and have no conscience about what lies and misrepresentations they tell to get there. Naomi, for $10, what was the name of the person in Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, the movie, who used this tactic to get women into bed? $10.
Malcolm.
Man. Zeke. Clearly you weren't paying attention. We have to watch that movie again. There's the kiss and teller. These are the braggarts who are more interested in a trophy for the sole purpose of having a story to tell. I feel like there's a bit of an overlap between the hitter and quitter and the kiss and teller. It's an old rule about a guy's magic number. If a man tells you how many people he slept with, divide that number by 2 to get a real estimate. Then tell him to take a hike. They're only interested in meeting what they believe are society's expectations. They won't try to get to know you at all. They just want to show you off and make people think that they've got something, even if they don't. Remember, Naomi, according to Steve Harvey, you have to find someone who will profess you, who will like tell his family that he likes you and that you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
You can't find that. If he doesn't tell you, let me remember what the quote was from Act Like a Lady. Since you're thinking so much, why don't you think about making me a sandwich with pickles and cheese? That was the line. And then he stands on a table and says, "This is the woman I love." And she's like, "Oh."
Oh my God.
I take back everything. They're the same person.
And the fact that you literally can quote that is so wild to me. That you're that invested in these awful books.
It's called
writing
the episode, recording the episode, and then editing the episode. The Smother Brother, these guys are overwhelmed by a need for control. If you let them, they will do whatever they can to take over your entire life. These are the guys who tell a girlfriend how to dress and where she is and is not allowed to go. The problem is they cannot deal with uncertainty. They micromanage the life out of you in the relationship. At first, it might feel good that they're really head over heels in love with you and so invested, but be patient because you may soon find their only interest is not in caring for you, but in controlling you. Don't confuse smothering for love. Isn't it weird that Steve Harvey never confronted actual realistic things like emotional abuse? He's just like, sometimes men are goofy and a mama's boy. That doesn't exist
in relationship.
Yeah, I feel the whole movie would have had a much darker tone if it's like, my boyfriend wants to have sex with me and he's gonna drop me. Well, my boyfriend won't let me leave the house and it's been 6 weeks. Yeah. Maybe that's what Act Like a Lady 3 is being held up on. They're like, we want to do a more realistic, gritty version of this.
I could believe that.
But they're also like, we also want it to be a comedy.
Yeah.
Where what's his name? Kevin Hart comes in and does some goofy pranks.
Ew.
Spends his wife's MasterCard on stuff. Number 4 is the pretender. He's playing a script and doesn't care who's playing opposite him. He just likes the role of romantic lead. He has no intention of ever following through by sticking around and doing the actual work. Once the guy feels he's got you, it's game over. Now he's got to figure out what to do with you. Then he moves on to the next victim if that's too boring a proposition for him to deal with. That feels like number 1 and 2. But of course, number 5 is different. That's the mama's boy, unemployed and seeking women who are affluent to take care of them emotionally and financially. Mama's boys are looking to be, you guessed it, mommied. Instead of viewing relationships as their chance to grow into adulthood, they look at women as mothers who will feed, clothe, and clean up after them. Actually, no, this is different than Steve Harvey because the mama's boy in Steve Harvey's book was literally someone who spent too much time with his mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Maybe they're not the
Very
same. I'm going
Freudian.
back and forth.
Yeah.
My brain's all aflutter. So, Naomi, we're approaching the end of the book, and I think both of our patience with this. I don't know if there's anything in particular you want to talk about. He discusses how to attract men, how to develop a plan to pick up men. He does have some suggestions of places to pick up men. I don't know if you want to hear this.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do want to hear this.
So he says to get what you want in your future mate, you've got to go where the men are. Of course, no one says you can't meet your husband in line at the DMV or at the nail salon, but those aren't places to actively do your search. Here are 31 top spots to choose from. Number 1, your church or temple. Number 2, batting cages. Number 3, the U.S. Opens. Number 4, baseball games. Number 5, major sporting events.
What
Number
is
6,
this? How to
sports
lose
bars.
a guy in 10 days?
Number 7, cigar bars. Number 8, sporting goods stores. Number 9, music festivals. See, he can't simultaneously say sometimes men are too emotionally invested in things like sports to care about women, and also say the best place for women to meet a man who's going to be good for them is at sporting events. It feels like you're trying to pick up men who he says aren't going to be attracted to you at those places. Am I crazy?
They're all gay.
Hot take from this podcast. If you like sports, you're gay. Thanks, Naomi.
You're so welcome.
Number 10, concerts. 11, art galleries. 12, car shows. 13, golf courses. 14, your office. Ugh.
Ew.
15,
Don't shit where you eat.
16, the bars of trendy restaurants. 17, the park. 18, the dog run. 19, the internet. 20, the gym. 21, philanthropic groups like Habitat for Humanity. 22, political campaigns or organizations. 23, auto racing events. 24, airplanes. 25, bookstores, tennis courts, shooting range, Starbucks, lacrosse games, hockey games, and number 31, hardware stores. Just hanging out in the plunger aisle.
Being in boarding group A and having someone in boarding group E try to hit on you.
Yeah, I just think they wanted to get on the plane fast. I would not be. Yeah. Airplanes. Oh, I couldn't help but see that you were watching Minions 2 on your little TV screen. You know, I was a voice of one of the Minions. That's untrue. I auditioned for the voice of one of the Minions. Are you more attracted to me
That's
now?
not true. I thought about auditioning for the voice of one of the Minions.
This is like where people in their 60s hang out. Which, I mean, if you're a woman trying to attract a man with money, yeah, you might have some better luck at art galleries and car shows and the bars of trendy restaurants. It's weird how he doesn't really give any focus on the internet. He's like, this is 1 out of 30
Because it's
options.
2004?
Well, that's the weird thing, because we discussed this, I think, in the first episode. He was the major celebrity that, what was it, Match.com was using when they first launched?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, so like he himself was pushing the internet. And there is a section in this book where he talks about writing the perfect like internet profile, and I don't think there's bad advice there. If anything, like we can dig into that a bit more. But what I find is funny is he's like, here are all these places that you can pick up men. You got to narrow down where you're going. You got to know your audience. So you have to like brush up on like who won the World Series that year if you're going to sports games. You got to like not be a poser, which maybe the better advice is if you don't care about that stuff and don't already have that knowledge, don't bother learning or trying to learn. It feels like you're going to be discovered very quickly, especially because men, if they really care about this stuff, tend to have that like gakekeeping mentality or like, oh, you like sports? Name 5.
Exactly. Yeah.
Baseball, hockey, racket, tennis.
Pickleball.
He then suggests once you identify the men, you've learned some trivia about whatever they care about, because clearly women couldn't ever be interested in these things. You got to do some ice breaking, and these questions are like, which family member are you closest to? What was the best concert you ever went to? What's the best vacation you've ever been on? Which feels like someone who's trying to steal my wallet. Like, what's your mother's maiden name? Do you have any pets?
What's your ATM card number?
But also like, oh, you've been to Aruba? That sounds expensive. I wonder, what's your credit limit? If you had a favorite 3 numbers that appeared on the back of a major document, what would they be and why? Yeah, so it's such like woefully generic advice. It is somewhat similar to that episode we did on conversations where we're like, how do you actually talk and communicate with people? And he's like, no, have like some stories to tell in advance that you've prepped, have like some basic information you can refer back to so you're not like stuttering, know how to like bring a conversation back, which, boy, this is a very, very limited summary of all the skills you need to learn in order to pick up people in these places.
I feel like if we challenged a bot to make a dating book, like write a dating book, this would be it.
Yeah. He ends this section by saying that men, again, like to feel like they're competing and that a woman like is something they've earned, not something that's just being given to them. So you got to play like hard to get. If he wants to hook up this weekend, tell him you can't till next weekend. Don't offer an explanation. If he asks what you're doing, respond with a vague answer like, it's just not a good night, or I've got plans with a friend. If you're always available, Naomi, you're going to bore him. If he's vying for your time, he's going to get a little competitive. So yeah, when you've met someone you like, make it hard to spend time with them. Make it clear that they're not a top priority for
Exactly.
you. Yeah. Do we feel that advice is more likely to not apply to younger people? Because I feel especially like post-COVID, more and more people want someone who's emotionally connected and not things that are casual. I'm not saying it depends.
I think it depends on the relationship. Like if you're looking for something more casual, then maybe play the hard to get game. But then if you're looking for something more serious, be upfront with your emotions. Because I think that's the best advice you can give anyone. And if they're trying to pursue like a more serious relationship, is to be upfront about their emotions.
And he finishes the section by saying this theory applies to sex too. If you hop in bed up front, there's no mystery or intrigue. It's best to keep him guessing about when, where, and what it'll be like than showing him everything you've got too soon. Does that remind you of anyone, Naomi?
I don't want to say his name.
Yeah, so he gives a lot of information about like taking photos. I don't think any of this is bad advice, especially because it's.
But it's not good advice.
Well, it's like the very start of dating culture, so it's like super basic stuff that we take for granted, but probably is helpful to people. It's like use the most recent photo you have, include a photo of your head and shoulders that's in focus and well lit.
Head,
smile.
Shoulders, knees and toes.
We need to wrap this up because Naomi's going crazy. He says, do use color photos and do show a bit of your body. You're not looking for any man, you're looking for the one who's interested in what you really are. I'm like, okay, this is...
What am I?
Not the worst advice. One thing that I find is kind of interesting is if you want to meet someone, the first date that you're meeting after you've met them online should only be about 15 minutes.
What?
Meet during the day, which may be safer since it's light out. Here's a biggie. No matter how much you're attracted on him on date 1, don't get into his car or accompany him in any private place. Make the date short. Tell him ahead of time you only have 15 minutes. Trust me, if he's not your man, 15 minutes will drone on like an hour. If he's a fabulous catch, he'll understand and respect your desire to protect yourself. Someone who can only dedicate 15 minutes to me is not someone I want to spend time with, even on a first date. It's like, oh, I'm going to hit it and quit it. I mean, honestly, it sounds kind of like all those people who are doing those online video dates before they meet in person. Where like, I just want to quickly, figure out if someone's right for me.
Yeah.
But theoretically, if you're meeting someone in person, you've already figured all of that out. I would say if you want to modify this rule, maybe say, I have no more than an hour. And if needed, you can say, oh, my thing got canceled, and extend it, right? Give yourself an out. Give yourself an opportunity to leave if the date goes wrong. But like,
always give yourself an out. Always. Even if you're in a relationship, give yourself... I'm just kidding.
So, yeah, I don't know. There's other sections. He gives some warning signs. He's like, if he has a gambling addiction, if he says he can't live without you after 2 dates, if he says he's not technically legally single, these are all problems in men. But in general, very little of this advice is like, how to... It's more of women needing to learn how to tolerate the issues with men than it is men having problems and women needing to, like, fix them. None of this advice is like, men, you need to be better. It's all women need to tolerate men's inadequacies, which is frustrating. And I guess
That's
the Steve
all
Harvey...
of womanhood.
I feel like Steve Harvey's the same advice perspective, because it's like written by a man for women telling them how it really is. And it's frustrating that there aren't any books out there that are like written for women, written for men by women, or written by men for men. The only real thing you have is like pickup artistry culture. So I think we can wrap this up. I'm not really feeling like I want to dig into the reconnection flowchart or the myths of happy couples. These are all pretty boring sections.
Yeah, because there is no such thing as a happy couple.
Are there any major takeaways you have from this book, Naomi?
I don't think that people that are famous should write dating books.
Dating app books.
Dating app books.
I like the fact that on the cover, as you pointed out in number 1, you have the front, which is a picture of Dr. Phil leaning against a big heart, and then the back is like his butt leaning against the heart.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute. I didn't like how there were little hearts on every single page surrounding the page number.
Because he's giving you love advice, and you're supposed to find love, and you're supposed to be in a good mood.
I feel it's condescending advice. It's advice that's far too similar to the crazy ramblings of Steve Harvey. It's advice that could be supported by research, but he never bothers bringing in any research, which would be a smart call given that, like, he's known as America's psychologist and America's therapist.
Yeah.
You'd think that'd be really important to him. It's also advice that I think at the end of the day is just so vague, it's not really helpful. Mm-hmm. There are some sections where he gets really specific, and I'm like, oh, this is good. But there are other sections where it just seems like he's trying to pad the length of the book to make it seem like a better value. Mm. It's not anything that's like actually specific to men that like most people are going to meet on a day-to-day. And simultaneously, in other sections, it might be too specific as to not be helpful. I think that it's just probably ghost written.
Yeah,
for one.
For
like
sure.
He has a huge writing
staff.
Yeah. That's it. And what they probably did was they like looked at a couple of his episodes where he discussed dating issues. They came up with a rough draft, and then they like did some quick research to figure out like other content they could fill the book with. And none of it seems like particularly focused, and you can sort of see remnants of that in the final draft. Because remember in chapter 1, he's like, I'm going to teach you how to claim the man of your choice.
Yeah.
And he gives this acronym that's never brought up anywhere else in the book, because thematically, someone probably wrote chapter 1 and someone probably different wrote chapter 5. Mm-hmm. There's never any sense of like combining stuff outside of you need to meet the content and, you know, page length requirements for this section.
Yeah.
He still needs a different mustache.
He does. It's too close to Steve Harvey.
I'm thinking like a Chuck Norris. Big handlebar, big fat handlebar.
Anyways, I hope everyone has a great
week. Oh my god,
week.
He would be better with a big Viking beard. Like, who is it, Kratos from the God of War series?
We're not doing that.
We're not doing that?
No.
Who is more in touch with his feelings than the God of literal war?
Anyways, I hope everyone has a great week. Joel, would you like to add anything before we end this episode?
Dr. Phil's not a great person, and please pirate this book if you can. I bought mine used, so the money didn't go directly to him. Don't watch his show when he's canceled in the next year or so for being a horrible person.
He's already been canceled.
Yeah. Every time he's canceled, make sure to like and share that information so other people are like, maybe this person isn't the greatest. If you feel like you have a good perspective on relationships, maybe help us write a book on relationships so we can correct the record once and for all. If not, we're just going to get Drek like this from Gwyneth Paltrow and
Is that the
Nick
next
Cannon
person that's going to write a book?
I have no idea. I'm trying to think of young celebrity influencers.
Nick Cannon. Yeah, with the 12 kids.
It's probably going to be one of those YouTube stars that's, had a relationship breakup because one of them was cheating, or one of those like Archie characters from the TV show. Like being like, I want to tell you how to date, having grown up in the worst dating TV show of all time.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, Naomi.
I think that's a really great... those are actually really great ideas.
I'm excited for it.
Have a great week, everyone.
Don't act like Dr. Phil. Don't think like Dr. Phil. Don't watch Dr. Phil.
And don't be Dr. Phil.
Don't drive like my brother.
And don't drive like mine.